Hi there. Today's topic of conversation is on the two heroes of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings respectively, and those are Bilbo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee, not Frodo. So, hi, this is Gone with Gandalf. I tend to do some Divide and Conquer videos as well, but I like doing one of these every week, just conversational things about Lord of the Rings lore and just Middle-earth in general. So if you like these kinds of videos, do remember to like the video, because then it means that I'm going to do more of these. So I'm going to start off with talking about Bilbo, the hero of The Hobbit. It's quite an easy one, really. Most of us, it's hard to argue that he is not the hero. Now, obviously, the supporting cast includes Gandalf the Grey, and then Thorin Oakenshield and his company. But along with Bard the Bowman, you can't really say any of those are the true heroes of the story. It's quite a simple story when you look at it. It's not as complex, partly due to the fact that it was just a children's tale, and much of it was revised when Lord of the Rings came out. Just so that it fits into the legendarium a bit better. In the beginning of The Hobbit, Bilbo was someone that just wanted to stay at home. He was homesick. He was a burden on the company for a very long time. But actually, in the second half of the journey, particularly when Gandalf left through Mirkwood, and he was the beacon, and he actually saved the dwarves of Thorin's company from many perils. And indeed, he just saved them. Well, he saved them from the spiders. He saved them from the Elven King's halls with his ingenuity. And he even had the courage, as someone who had very little prowess or skill, or he's not very physically imposing, shall we say. Bilbo went in through the secret passage in Erebor, and he went to go into the halls, knowing full well that it's very likely that there's going to be a dragon there. And he went down there not once, not twice, actually technically he went 3 times, but he actually saw the dragon, went back up the road to tell his buddies, oh yeah, here's a golden cup and there's a big dragon over there. After that, he went back and, he had the riddles with the dragon before he then flew off to Lake Town. Naturally, it's very easy to say that Bilbo would not have done this if, you picked him up from Bag End, teleported him over to Erebor and said, go and check out that dragon down there. No, it's he really grew into this. And he's the most unassuming character. He's not as I said, he's not an indomitable figure. He's not someone like Thorin, who's expected to be all-powerful. He's meant to have the wisdom. Thorin's, of course, more of a tragic hero, someone a bit like Boromir. But Bilbo is someone really that the reader can relate to, and to see that real growth and upward trend, if you think of it as a graph, his growth has been exponential. He started from the bottom and now we're here. So it's just, that is obviously why he is the hero. And he picks up the ring, he saves Gollum in the process, perhaps saving all of Middle Earth from Sauron later on down the line because of that. Or he definitely did. And of course, then that is where we lead on into the Lord of the Rings then. And if we think about the Lord of the Rings a little bit, for that actually to begin, Bilbo, of course, had to give away the One Ring. And if you look through the history of everyone that has possessed the One Ring, there have only been 2 characters that actually gave it away free of choice. So everyone that possessed the One Ring was Sauron. He, of course, had it cut off his finger. Isildur, he, of course, got shot in the eye. There was Gollum. He, of course, lost the ring. Bilbo, he gave away the ring. Must be said, it wasn't without a lot of persuasion from Gandalf, who nearly had to uncloak, take off his raiment to kind of spook him into doing it. And then, of course, Sam. Sam gave away the One Ring freely to Frodo, who then finally, of course, he did not relinquish his hold of the One Ring. So just before I get on to Sam, I just want to talk about Bilbo for a little short while and just talk about how important it was that he actually gave away the One Ring, because you can't, if he would have had the ring taken from him, it is said that he would have Gandalf would have broken his mind, and he held on to it for 80 years and was still, I think it was 80 years. No, I think it was about 60, sorry. I think it was 60 years. Yeah, it was about 60 years. 59, maybe. But he held on to it for a very long time. That's the point. And if you look at other ring bearers, Isildur had it for about 3 years, I think. So certainly not anywhere near the same amount of time. And Isildur was like, it pains him to put it on, and it was a great struggle for him to have it anywhere near his body. But of course he always did, because he can't give it away. So for Bilbo to have it for so long and still be able to relinquish his hold of it, that is a real great sign of resilience to the One Ring. So then let's talk about Sam. Now, some of you, a lot of you probably would agree with me that Sam is the hero of Lord of the Rings. Many of you will disagree. But often it is the time that actually the real hero of a story is not immediately apparent in the beginning of a story. So, obviously, in the Lord of the Rings, you've got Frodo. You might think, well, he's like the heir of Bilbo. He gets the One Ring. Surely he is the true hero of the Lord of the Rings. It was his quest to destroy the ring, but he failed. He of course, the One Ring was destroyed, but he didn't do it. He got it to Mount Doom, but he didn't actually plop the ring into the fires there. If it wasn't for intervention from LOTR, who knows what would have happened. Of course, the One Ring probably would have fallen into the hands of Sauron, and everything would have been doomed. Now, I don't like to make too many comparisons, but of course, a very quick note. J.R.R. Martin, of course, the author of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones and all that, he's a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien and whatnot, so he's drawn great inspiration from that. And I remember there's an interview of him being on set for the first season of Game of Thrones, and he was apparently just walking around being like, ha ha ha, like, it's funny, like, yeah, it's not about you, it's actually all about Jon and Daenerys, and everyone at the time was like, what are you on about? But of course, the main character of Game of Thrones, or A Song of Ice and Fire, was Jon Snow, even though it kind of took until like the 5th season, and like pretty much up until, what's the latest book? Winds of Winter hasn't come out yet, but anyway, that's up to like season 5. I'm going on a tangent. But anyway, he's the main character. It's not apparent at the beginning. And neither is it apparent that Sam is going to be the real hero and main character of The Lord of the Rings. The best way to talk about Sam, I guess, he's like the cameraman in survival shows, or, like a Bear Grylls show, where you're like, oh my God, look at what he's doing. And then Sam's doing all the same stuff, but he's like carrying the camera. But in this case, he's kind of more carrying all the baggage. He's making sure Frodo's still moving on. It can't just all be doom and gloom. Like, it's a very long journey, several hundreds of miles to cover to get to Mordor. And before that, of course, there's a lot of other hardships along the way. And Sam kind of takes care of Frodo in that sense, while still, it's still a hard journey with or without the ring. But speaking about the ring, of course, Sam did actually, he was one of the ring bearers. And as I previously mentioned, he was the only one, apart from Bilbo, who relinquished his hold of the One Ring. But he actually did it in Mordor, where the power of the ring is greatest, the pull and the will of Sauron's ring is greatest, and he was still able to freely give it to Frodo, and he was like, yeah, take it, mate. Yeah, this is your quest. I was just taking it just in case, because I wanted to do it for you, because he thought, of course, Frodo might have been, he thought maybe he was dead. But he went and, of course, rescued him and kept the One Ring safe, saving the world again there. But for Sam, it's not about really saving the world, because he's just the nice guy. He has come all this way, not for power. He's not doing it for money or anything like that. He's doing it because he said to his friend, I will help you with your quest. He's had several occasions where he could have turned back. And you think of Rivendell, when he was saying oh, it's nice, yeah, we've seen the elves now. And this was a guy who was daydreaming about elves and things like that before they left. He was just a gardener. He was a plucky little gardener. He's so ordinary. He's so cuddly and everything. And he makes it to Rivendell and would be like, right, well, are we done? Are we done? Can we go? But then Frodo's like, I'm taking the One Ring, and he's like, I don't particularly want to, but I am going to do this because I think I want to do it for you, and I want to do it with you. So that was his quest, and of course he stuck to that quest. He went with him when they went as a duo, and he got mistaken for a bodyguard by Faramir. Of course, he was a key companion of Frodo. If Sam hadn't been there along the way, who knows what would have happened. And actually, one of the favourite scenes really is when Frodo and Sam are talking about the great stories from, thousands of years gone by. But he's talking about the quest that they're on, but he doesn't particularly see himself as a central figure. It's all about Frodo. It's his quest, and he's just kind of like a thing on the sidelines. But then, of course, Frodo does say he wouldn't have got very far without Sam. Everyone's going to be telling stories about him as well. And that is absolutely true, but Sam's very humble. And because of his low beginnings, he's so relatable to the reader. That could be you. You're not going to be you're not the heir to a sealed or the next in line to the kingdom of Gondor and Arnor. No, you're just you'd probably be most alike to a hobbit, and someone like Sam, who's kind of just a happy, cheery boy. Simple and stupid aren't the same thing. Now, Sam, just because he comes from very low beginnings and he is just a hobbit, he doesn't know about the wide world or anything. That doesn't mean that he's stupid. He knows, and he went out on the journey knowing that there'll be great evil and troubles ahead. And by the time, through Mori, I'm thinking he's probably quite aware that there's going to be a lot more along the way, And then by the time, when he goes off with Frodo at Parth Galen, into Emyn Muil, he's pretty aware, and he knows that there's evil, there's great struggle there, but he's doing it because he loves his friend. And if that's not courage, then what is? That is very similar to Bilbo, and that is why I think it's not just me, but other people as well. Bilbo's natural successor is not Frodo, it's Sam. And this can even be seen then, obviously, Sam succeeds in his quest. Bilbo succeeded in his quest of getting there and back again. Frodo had his quest of destroying the One Ring, and he kind of failed. But he did make it back, and then he went into retirement as well, into the West. But Sam remained, and, if Frodo was the main hero, he was the be-all and end-all, the book would have finished with them sailing west, but it didn't. It carried on. It carried on with Sam coming back home and then being I'm back. Just as, Bilbo made it back to his hobbit hole at the end of The Hobbit, and he was like, all right, right, get supper rolling. This is kind of turning into me just talking about how Sam is my favourite character. I don't think he is my favourite character. What is your favourite character? Tell me in the comments. I'd really be interested to know. There are just so many inspirational quotes that Sam kind of says throughout, and too many really for me to say, but one of my favourites, of course, is the bit where he says that there is some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. I can't do the voice. Anyway, this has been a real bit of a mashup. Hopefully it's come across okay. I'm not a professional at this, as you can tell. I'm literally recording this on an iPad. As both the stories of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings went from west to east, does that mean that west is good and is east bad? Is that allegorical? And why are all the bad things out in the east? And is that meant to be about Soviet Russia? But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, again, please do like the video. It lets me know. That way you don't necessarily have to comment either. And subscribe if you want more. And actually, at the point of me recording this video, I think I've got 497 subscribers. So that's pretty close to 500, which is an incredible amount of people now that I think about it. And I feel kind of embarrassed almost recording this just so humbly. But thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for subscribing. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I am Game with Gandalf. Good day.